Hi, welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly, and this channel is all about print-on-demand everything, including how to create unique designs using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in, please do stick around. So in today's video, I'm going to go over how to create this design right here. This is a really cool kind of three-way design with clipping masks and cutouts and everything. Somebody did ask me about how to do cutouts where the word is cut out of a rectangular box, so that's why I went ahead and made this. It's hard to tell from this picture because it is on a black shirt, but these are cutouts, so you could put it on any color shirt that you wanted and it would pop through. So I'm just going to go ahead and move this so that you can see that these are in fact cutouts. So if I kind of move that around, you can see that these are indeed cutouts. And then I can go ahead and just put that right back in the shirt where it was. I did make this mock-up by myself using Canva as well. So you can, make some really cool mock-ups. Again, just by adding some decorations, and you can make holiday mock-ups as well. Anyways, if this is something that you would like to learn about, please do stick around. Okay, so here we are on Canva's home page. And I'm just going to start by creating a custom size. So in your right hand corner, you'll see a box that says custom size. If you click on that, you can go ahead and type your dimensions in here for width and height. You can also choose between pixels, inches, millimeters, and centimeters. We're going to be using pixels. And for shirt designs, I always use 4500 by 5400 pixels. So that's what I'm going to start with. So this is going to just pull up my blank canvas right here. Now I always like to design for black, especially if I'm doing a Halloween design, because black is going to be the top seller. It's already the top seller, but definitely for Halloween, unless you design specifically for orange, pretty much everything else is going to be on black. So I'm just going to click on my blank page, go up to the top left where it says background color, and from there I can go ahead and just select black. Now in today's video, I'm going to hopefully make this a short one. Somebody had asked me about how to do a cutout, but with text cut out of a rectangular box. So I'm going to do that. It's pretty easy. And I'm just going to go ahead and take that one step farther today and then add a little bit of a clipping mask on there to really make it pop. And we're going to go ahead and do a Halloween design because, hey, Halloween's coming, so we might as well just stick with the theme here. And so for here, what I'm going to do is actually start with a rectangle. So to pull up a rectangle, all you have to do is hit R on your keyboard, and that will pull up a rectangle. And from there, you can go ahead and size it however you want. So for this design, let's say we were doing something like a little bit of a banner design like that. And let's say that I wanted my square to be white. So I can come up to color, and I can put a white square. And now I'm going to put the text that I want to cut out right here in the middle. So I can go ahead, click anywhere, hit T on my keyboard. It should pull up a text box. Now from there, I can just type in whatever I want, and just keeping it simple, I'm just going to go ahead and go with spooky. Oops, spooky right there. And so here is my spooky, right? I can drag the edges out to make it nice and big. Now I am going to want to put it over this white box, so I do need to make it a darker color. For this technique, you're going to want your text and your background to be the same color. So whenever we're doing cutouts, it's always easy to, easiest if you have whatever you want cut out and the background the same color. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to drag this up here, and I'm just going to change the text color here to black. Okay, so now I have spooky in black. Now this is pretty simple because it's just black and white. If you were doing this with a different color background or whatnot, you really want contrasting colors. So for this particular example, it's going to cut out everything that was black. But you could just as easily make everything a neon pink or a neon green, and that's going to cut out. So everything that is that one main color is going to get cut out. So sometimes it's better to go with brighter colors. For this case, because I'm using just a white box, black is going to contrast quite a bit, so black will do just fine. So now I'm just going to go ahead and pick whatever font that I like. Because it is spooky, let's just go ahead and go with a Halloween font. So I can come up to the top where you've got your font selection. And I know which one I want to use, but let's just do a little search here for Halloween. And you can see different Halloween fonts may pop up for you. And there's a lot of different cool Halloween fonts. And I did do, there you go. I did do some videos on some of my favorite Halloween fonts, and so you can see lots of cool ones there. That one actually looks kind of cool. It wasn't what I was going to go with, but it might work. I don't want anything that's got a texture or a grain to it. It's just going to cut out a lot better and be a lot cleaner if it's something that's solid. So for this one, I really am going to look for something that's more of a solid. So again, that one probably wouldn't work very well for this because you're probably not going to get a good background removal. But I mean, you can play with your fonts. I'm going to go with one that I actually downloaded for free from Creative Fabrica. So there's lots and lots of free fonts on Creative Fabrica. And so you can download a whole ton of free fonts pretty easily. And I do have a video on that. My caveat is you can only upload them onto Canva if you have Canva Pro. And so I do have Canva Pro. It's definitely worth having. If you do a lot of designs, if this is something that you want to do, you know, pretty seriously, it is worth investing in, and it's not that expensive. I think I only pay like $12.99 a month for Canva Pro. So just to have the extra features, the extra graphics and everything, it's definitely worth it. So right now, these are all the fonts that I have uploaded from Creative Fabrica. So all of these fonts I found in Creative Fabrica, I downloaded for free from Creative Fabrica, and I went ahead and uploaded onto Canva so that I've got just a lot of really cool fonts to work with. And the one that I'm specifically looking for now is a Halloween font called Gloomy Mummy. So that is the one I was going to go with. And so I think that that gives like sort of a fun Halloween look. So now I'm just going to go ahead and size it however I want, make sure it is centered in my square there, and that is what's going to get cut out. So that spooky is going to get cut out. So now for this technique, we just save this whole thing with the background. So that's the catch here. So you're just going to go spooky. I'm just going to put black, and I'm just going to go up to the top right hand corner where it says share, and I can click that. I can come to download. Normally we would have a transparent background, but for this technique, we're going to need to do an extra step. So we're just going to download it as is. So hit download. That will download your design. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and then upload the design. So on your left-hand side of the page, you'll see a tab that says uploads. This is where you can upload any file you like. So I can click that, hit upload files, select the file that I want, open, and there you go. So then I can just click on it. I can close that, and here is my download. Now, just so that you can see, I'm going to take this background color. I'm going to go ahead and change it. So let's just change it to a dark gray so you can see. So now you can see this is what we started with. This is what we have here, and this is the one that we're going to just go ahead and do a background removal on. So if I was to take this design right here and go up to edit photo at the top left-hand side of the page, you've got lots of different effects that you can use. So both on the old and the new editor, depending on which one you're using, there's something called background remover. If you click there, it should, emphasis on should, remove the background, which in this case would be everything that's black. This is why it's very important for your background color and your text color to be the same. So that looks pretty good. It looks like I got a nice clean cutout. If you're not sure, you can always hit these three little dots here. It's going to pull up your design really big so that you can see, and it looks like, yeah, I got a really good cutout. So sometimes it doesn't work. If that's the case, maybe you need to change fonts. Maybe you need to make sure that you've got a good contrast between your text color and your box color. But you might have to play with it a little bit. But when we get a nice good cutout like that, it's perfect. And so I can just go ahead, click back here, and there is my design. So now I can get rid of this. I don't need this at all. And so now this is what somebody had asked specifically about, was just, I'm going to fill the page here, how to make a cutout. So you could leave this alone. I could change the background color now back to black, and this could be your design. But let's go ahead and make it a little bit more fun, because this is pretty boring. So what I'm going to do now is, I've got a really cool cutout. I'm going to use this as a frame, and I'm going to go ahead and put a really cool Halloween clipping mask on it. And I'm going to show you guys how to do a couple different clipping masks, because I've had some questions about Photo P2, which is what I use for the clipping masks. So I'm going to go over that a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and retitle this Spooky Frame. And I'm going to go ahead, go to Share, go down to Download, and this time you do need a transparent background. So some of you might have gotten stuck on this step, so make sure you have transparent background for your frame, and go ahead and download that. Okay, perfect. Once you've got that all downloaded, now we're going to look for some fun Halloween masks. So let's go ahead over to the left-hand side of the page. We can go up to where it says Elements, and we'll click on that tab there. And now we can go ahead and do a search for elements. So let's just go ahead and do a Halloween background search. So that was my first one I did, Halloween backgrounds. And again, you can go with photos, you can go with graphics. There's cool things under each. So let's just go ahead and start with graphics and see what we find. This first one here is really simple. It's just going to give you a nice gradient. So what I could do would be to crop it something like that. That way I know I get like half orange, half purple gradients. I could even go ahead, if I wanted to, go to Edit Photo, go up to where it says Adjust, and I could go ahead and make it more contrasty if I wanted to. So something like that, make it less contrasty if I wanted to. What I really want to do, I think, is pop the saturation and the vibrance so that it's really more bright. So something like that. And then maybe, because I do want it to be a little bit lighter, because it's going to go on a black background, maybe make it a little bit brighter there. So I kind of like that gradient there. So if I was to take that gradient now and go ahead and cover up my entire frame with that, now this is going to be what would go in the frame. And to make sure that you've got everything lined up the way that you like it, if you were to click on this and then go to the top where you got this little checkered box, it says transparency. If you bring that transparency down temporarily, you can see how this is going to line up underneath. And so that's a good way to make sure that you've got your gradient lined up the way you want, so that it's not like too high where it's all purple or too low where it's all orange. So you can kind of make sure that you get your gradient sort of smack in the middle, make sure it's covering everything the way that you like it. Once you do that, you can get rid of that transparency. And now this can be one mask. So what we'll do is we'll call this sort of orange and purple, let's say gradient mask. And then I can go again to Share. I'm going to go to Download. Now for the masks, it doesn't matter if you have a transparent background or not, because the only thing that is going to go in the frame is this area right up here. So this is all out of frame, so it doesn't matter at all. So you can just download as is. And for this, I'm going to come up with maybe three different masks to show you guys. So let's say that's mask number one, and I'll get rid of that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and look for another mask. So I can just scroll down, see if I find anything else fun. So here's a fun one. I kind of like this because this gives you just sort of like these ghosts, little cool Halloween prints. Now there's a couple ways you could do this. I could take this, pull it all the way across. That is going to make these elements really big. And so if I, again, go back up to transparency, bring that transparency down, you can see sort of how big these elements are going to look in your frame. So maybe I don't want them to be that big because you can't really see them. So let's say I wanted to make them a little bit smaller. Maybe something like that would work, maybe about halfway. So I think that's cool. But now I need to cover the second half. Now, fortunately, this appears to be a seamless pattern. And the cool thing about seamless patterns, I'm going to go ahead, click this, hit Control D, that's going to duplicate it. I'm going to bring it right over to the other side, right there. And a seamless pattern will allow you to do that, where you can put the pattern side by side, top, bottom, and it will all look like it flows. So it'll go right into the next one and everything should line up nicely. So not all patterns are going to be seamless patterns. So if you want to do this, you have to make sure it's a seamless pattern for it to work. But that looks like it's pretty cool. So let's go ahead. Let's lose the transparency on both of these. Perfect. And now I want to make sure that there's no gap, and it's really hard to see, but it looks like there might be a little line going through there. If I need to zoom in down at the bottom of my page, there's a little slider. If I go ahead and slide that to the right, I can zoom this in, and now I can go ahead, scroll up, and see if I see any line. And actually, I don't. From here, it looks pretty good. Now, if you do notice that you have a little bit of a gap, maybe something like that, you can close that gap pretty easily by just clicking on one of your elements. And now you can use the arrow keys on your keyboard to move in any element or text 1 pixel at a time. So if you need to make very small micro adjustments, you can just go ahead and use that arrow key. So right now I'm just using my left arrow key to move this 1 pixel at a time. You can hold it down to make it go faster and just close that gap. And so now everything looks lined up really nice. Okay, so that's a little trick there. I can scroll out. This is ready to go. So now let's go ahead and retitle this. I'm just going to call this, let's say Halloween print mask. And I can go ahead and do the same thing. I'm just going to download this. Again, it does not need to be a transparent background. I'm just going to hit download. And I'm going to give this a second, and then we're going to find one more mask just so that you have some things that you can work with. So now that I got that, I'm going to go ahead, get rid of these, and let's go ahead and look for one more mask. So I'm still scrolling down, lots of cool ones that you can do. Just remember that you're going to have this on probably a black shirt. So whatever mask you go with, it's going to have to sort of pop on that black shirt. So you don't want to go with anything that's too dark. Or has a lot of big black areas in it, because then you'll kind of lose the text. So try to go with something a little bit brighter or a little bit lighter, something that doesn't have huge amounts of black in it. I kind of like this tie-dye. Tie-dye is kind of cool. So let's say we're going to go with the tie-dye. This is not a seamless pattern, by the way, so if I put the tie-dye right next to it, you'd obviously get a gap. So for this one, I am going to make it go ahead and just fill the whole thing up. And to make sure I've got this lined up where I like it, again, I'm going to go to my transparency. And now I can do it like this, where the swirl is in the middle. And so that's one way to do it, and that looks pretty cool. If I didn't want the swirl in the middle, I could easily come down and do something like that. And that's just going to give it sort of a different style. You can see it's just going to look a little bit different. And so you can play with your placement. You can be pretty creative with your placement. So you don't have to have that swirl in the middle if you don't want to. And you can play with the size. If I wanted to make it really big, for example, that is going to give you a totally different look in your spooky, right? If I did something like that, versus if I was to make it as small as I could and still cover the whole thing, which would be something like if I tightened it up to here and then I pulled it down, that is going to give a different look in terms of where everything lines up. So play with it. You might make a couple of different versions just to see sort of what looks the best. I kind of like something like that because it's going to really show off sort of the details in the tie-dye a little bit better. So let's say I go with that. Make sure you lose your transparency before you save it. So there it is. And by the way, if you want to make it a little bit brighter, just like the last time, I can click there, go to edit photo. I can do filters on it if I want to, or I can go to adjust and just adjust it this way. So maybe I do want to make it a little bit brighter so that it's going to pop on the black background. And again, I can increase the saturation if I like to really just sort of make that pop, even the vibrance there. And so now that is really bright. And so let's go ahead and title this Halloween. I'm just going to call it tie-dye. That's tie-dye mask. And then we will go ahead and save this exactly the same as we did before. Again, does not need to have a transparent background. You can, it won't make a difference. And hit download. And we'll give that a second. Good. So now that we have all 3 of our masks downloaded, we're going to jump over to Photopea. And this is where I know a lot of people have had trouble for some reason. So I'm going to show you in as good of detail as I can. If you just go to photopea.com and you just put that in your browser, this page should come up. In the center, you should see something that says open from computer. From here, it should just pull up your downloads. And so you should see everything that you just downloaded. So go ahead and select your spooky frame. So the one that says frame, hopefully you titled these well. And you give it a second, it's going to pull up your frame. So this is what your frame should look like, and it should have the cutouts where you can see the checkered through it. From here, we're going to go ahead and put our mask right on top. So to do that, you'll go to the top left-hand side of the page where it says File. Go ahead and hit Open in Place. It'll pull up your downloads again. From here, go ahead and pick one of your masks. I'm going to go with the first one we did, and it's going to put the mask on top. So now your page should look like this. So your mask should be on top of your frame. You should not be able to see your frame through it. You should only see your mask. On the right side of the page, you're going to get your layers. So these are where your layers are. You need your mask layer to be on top, and you need it to be selected. So right now it's kind of highlighted. That means that it is selected. If, for example, I had my background selected and then I went to do a clipping mask, it would not work because I have the background selected. So that might be where some people are getting stuck. So make sure that you have your mask selected, that it is on top, and from there you can go up to the top part of the page, go over to where you see layer, click clipping mask, and you should, boom, have your clipping mask just like that. From here, that's all we needed it. We can go up to File. Halfway down, you'll see Export As. We're going to export it as a PNG, so you can click that. And again, give it a second, a little box will open up. And here is our box. And you can now, if you want to retitle it so that you can keep everything, in order, I can call this Spooky and I'm going to put Gradient. It is still a PNG. It is still 4500 by 5400 pixels. All you have to do is hit save, and it saves it real quick. So from here, you could jump back over to Canva, or if you want to go ahead and put some more masks on, we can do that too. So just how it is, I can go up to File again, repeat the process, go to Open in Place. I can pick another mask, so this time we'll go with our print mask, hit Open, and it will now put the print mask on top. So now when I go over to layers, you're going to see 3 layers. I still have my background layer, I still have my orange gradient, and then on top of everything now, I have my Halloween print, and the Halloween print is still selected. So now if I go up to the top where it says layer, and I click there, and I go about halfway down and click on clipping mask, it's just gone ahead and put the new clipping mask right on top. And so now I can just go ahead and download this too. So I can go to File, Export As a PNG. I can retitle this if I want, Spooky Pattern. And then it's still PNG, everything's the same, hit save. And we'll go ahead and do this one more time for our last backgrounds, our last mask. So we'll go up to File, Open in Place. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the tie-dye one, hit Open. It's gonna pull the tie-dye up right on top. So now I've got my 4 layers here. The background layer is still at the bottom. The mask, the tie-dye is at the top and it's highlighted. I'll go to the top where I hit Layer. I can hit clipping mask, and there you go. I've got my clipping mask right there, and it looks really cool. So I'm going to go to File, Export As a PNG, give it a second, and then we'll just go ahead, retitle it. I'll put tie-dye here, and I'll hit save. And now I do want to show you what will happen if you play with some of these side things, because a lot of people have asked questions. So right now, this is the one that's on top. If I was to just take it, click it, and drag it down, now you can see the other mask is on top, the pattern is on top. I could also take, let's say, the orange one and move it all the way up, and now it's gonna be on top. And so you can play with your layers that way. You could also delete layers if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. If I was to right click on any of these, it'll pull up a tab, and you can just hit delete, and it'll just delete that layer. And so really easy to work with. Now, if you had it on backgrounds, for example, and you wanted to do a clipping mask, it would not work. And you'd be wondering, why doesn't it work? Well, that's because you've got background selected instead of your mask selected. I think another problem people ran into was not doing their frame with a transparent background. So they just had a solid frame that was probably, rectangular, in which case their mask would have filled up the entire rectangular space. So you do have to make sure that that is gone on a transparent background. So if you followed all of these steps, it should work. There is no limit to how many times you can do this a day. I have done this a lot. You can do like 100 in a row if you want to. There is no limit for anybody who's asked about that. And this is totally free. You shouldn't have to pay anything. You shouldn't have to log in. You shouldn't have to sign up. I mean, it's as simple as I made it look. It should be that simple. And so from here, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to jump right back over to my Canva tab. So now here I am back on Canva. I can go ahead get rid of that. And so I can save my frame if I want to, because maybe I want to do even more masks and I want to make sure everything lines up well. So I'm just going to save it. I'm not going to touch that. And so an easy way to keep with my work would just be to add another page. So let's say I just add one more page down here. And just so that you can see it's a nice cutout, I'm going to change the background color temporarily to a gray. Maybe a dark gray. There we go. That way you can see different colors through here. So now we're going to go ahead and just upload those three designs that we just made on Photopea. So I can go over to the left-hand side again where it says Uploads, click that, and now I'm just going to upload files. So one at a time, I'll upload all of my ones that I just made. And so there's 3. Once they're uploaded, you can just click on them and that will bring them right onto your page, and then I can get rid of that. So now what I've got is actually all 3 on the page, something like that. And I can crop them down to make them easy to work with so that you can see them all. Let's go ahead and go like that. And so here is spooky number 1, and I can drag that across. Spooky number 2, and I can drag that across. And spooky number 3, same thing. Boom. Cool. So something like that. Now, right now I have it on a gray background, so I guess it's a little bit tougher to see, but you can definitely see how you've got the cutouts. I can change the background color so you can see how it would look with different backgrounds. So if I change the background color to white, you can see that looks pretty cool. If I do it on a black shirt, that's what it's going to look like. And so you get the idea. Now, one thing you might do if you think, oh, this is kind of hard to read because, you know, on the black is still blending in a little bit too much. This one's a little bit busy. This one's a little bit dark. This one reads pretty good, so maybe I don't have to do anything with this one. But these two definitely look like they need a little something to make that text pop. Well, one trick you can do is use an outline around it. And so when you use your outline feature, it is going to outline your entire design, including inside the text. So for example, I'm going to take this top one. We'll go to Edit Photo, and I'm going to go down to where it says Shadows. And from Shadows, I'm going to hit Outline. And now from here, I can go ahead and select a color. So let's go ahead and we can either do white, might look good because of the ghosts, so maybe white's a good one. Now you can see if the outline is too thick, it's pretty much filling in all the letters. But we can take the size and we can bring it way down so it's real small, maybe something like that. And now you can see it's still cut out. You can still see the different colors through it, but spooky's gonna pop a lot more. And so let's say we wanted to do spooky that way. Now I can do the same thing here with the second one. So go ahead, go up to Edit Photo. Again, I'm going to go to my Shadows. I'm going to go to Outline. I'm going to select an outline color. For this one, maybe we'll go with that orangey color of the tie-dye. Okay, so maybe try to match that a little bit. I'm going to have to make that a little darker. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more yellow, something in there. Make sure I bring the size way down to, the other one was a 5, so let's keep it similar. Something like that. And so now you've got 3 different versions to choose from. Now you could put up 3 different shirts, you know, one for each one of these, and so that's cool. You could also put up one shirt that has all 3 on them, just like this, where they're kind of stacked. If I was going to do that, I might change the order. I don't want the purple next to the purple, so what I might do would be to separate these and put this one in the middle. I'd want to make sure I had even spacing between everything, as even as I could get. So something like that. And so now that might be a really cool shirt by itself. And so it's just going to say spooky, spooky, spooky. And good news, I've trademark checked it and that is free to use. So you can recreate this design and go ahead and sell it and you won't have any issues at all. And again, it's going to look the best on a black shirt, but you could again change shirt colors. And if you want to see how something's going to look on different color shirts, just change the background color of your page. And that's going to show you kind of how it's going to look. So it would look good on white. It would look good on black. Maybe a dark purple. Yeah, you could make that work. That's not really a good purple color. That's more bluish, but purple might work. Green, am not too loving it. Orange, again, you're gonna kind of lose the detail on this one just because we went with the orange outline. If we had gone with maybe the purple outline, then it would pop a little bit. This one, I'd have to put an outline around it again to make it pop. So think about what shirt colors you plan to put it on. If you've got lots of space, you could go ahead and put the same design on different shirt colors and just optimize for those shirt colors. So this one again is optimized for black, but if you wanted to create a version that was optimized for orange, you might take this and put a black outline around all of these, and then that would really pop on the orange background, and so you could put up the versions 2 different ways. So again, if you've got a lot of slots, put up a ton, you know, don't limit yourself to just one. The more you have up, the more chances you have of making a sale. So lots of variations, lots of ways to make this your own. You don't have to limit yourself to 3 different backgrounds too. You could do this hundreds of times, literally. And so that is just how you would do this technique. It ended up being a little bit of a longer video than I meant for it to be, but I did want to go into enough detail so that you guys really understood the technique and then how to make it your own. So I hope this was useful. Let me know in the comment section below if this was useful. Again, if you have any other things that you would like to see or request, you can put that in the comments section below. If you have any questions, put that in the comment section below. I do try to get back to everybody as quickly as I can. I hope you guys are still doing good with your sales. I hope you're staying cool because it is still very hot outside. And I don't think it's going to get cooler anytime soon. So I hope you guys are at least staying cool and doing well. And I hope to see you guys again next time. That's it for today's video. If you found this useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.